Hi, everybody. This is Professor Diffley. This is Philosophy 255, Chapter 10, Lecture Video 4. So, picking up here, last video we ended with Section 2.05. So, here we are at 2.06, Sexual Relationships. Now, we've discussed that before in terms of clients and their friends and family, which is don't do it. Here we're talking about at work between colleagues and that. So here, section 2.06, subpart A. Let's start with this. This one deals with supervisors or educators in the field. This is true in every field. Supervisors should not be in romantic or sexual relationships with people they oversee, who over whom they exercise professional authority. This includes their supervisees, their employees, their students, trainees, or anything else who they exercise professional authority. Why? This is open to maybe people playing favorites, right? So the boss is going to favor the person they're in a relationship with over others, even though it might not be warranted. It just looks bad. It is open to too much improper scenarios is really the way I look at it. This is a blanket rule everywhere. Supervisors, you never should be in a relationship with someone they oversee or have authority with. And especially educators, even at the graduate level, and that should not be in relationships with their students. Now, there are stories where this happens, and the argument has been that the people, by the time they're in grad school, they're usually older, mid-20s, they're adults, that they're often graduate instructors will encourage you to view them as colleagues rather than just simply, a teacher or professor, that sort of thing, because you're both ending up in the same field. I just think it's wrong overall, right? Just like it's wrong because you exercise control, right? A educator, professor has some power over their student in terms of grades, things like that. It's improper. So this supervisors, educators should never be in relationships of sexual or romantic kind with the people they supervise, their students, that sort of thing. Subsection B here in 2.06 deals with consensual relationships between colleagues at a place. It says you should avoid them, especially where there's potential for a conflict of interest. If you want my opinion on this, my take is, it should be avoided at all costs. Relationships in the workplace, they don't always turn out well. That's not what you're there for, right? Not there to socialize, not there to find love or whatever. You're there to do a job. It can get messy too, right? There are, you're in a relationship with someone and it goes very bad, it goes south, all of a sudden now you got to work with this person. It can create gossip and tension in the workplace, that sort of thing. I would argue just don't do it. This says, avoid it when there's a potential for a conflict of interest, and that would be the conflict of interest. Now you guys are fighting. The conflict is you're spending too much time on personal matters and should be dealing with your clients and that. If there are, this becomes an issue, the people who've involved in this need to be prepared that they may have to transfer. They may need to leave. They're probably you're gonna see employee manuals and things like that will have this in their, part of your contract in your employee manual will have the rules on this. Some places require you to let HR know, human resources know, others don't, but it should be avoided if at all possible, is my argument. I don't think it's a wise thing to do. Yeah, so again, it's just really not a wise thing to do. 2.07, sexual harassment. Don't sexually harass others. Doesn't matter if they're your supervisors, trainees, or colleagues, just should not be sexually harassing them. And this is part of it too. Again, why I say it should be avoided. This will be part of your training, I'm sure, in your employee handbook. But what can sexual harassment be? Well, it's open to how it's perceived, and sometimes, other than obviously, complete unwanted touching and things like that. But I mean, even unwanted sexual advances, or that means hitting on someone, ask them out. That sort of thing, that could be taken the wrong way. People can perceive it as harassment, where maybe you meant it as harmless, but again, it's about how they perceive it. It's how you're going about it. You may see it as nothing wrong with it, but the people or person you're doing this to could. So again, avoid it. But then when you go on further in this list, it gets into real sexual, like sexual solicitation. That's usually right. Trying to solicit them to have sex with you for pay or something like that. Anything. No sex favors. Right. I'll get you your promotion if you have sex with anything that's wrong in so many levels. And in any way, right? Again. So understand that this is to be avoided and not to be done. You also got to, once you get into unwanted touching, now you're getting into a battery and all sorts of other criminal possibilities there. So just don't sexually harass people. That should be clear enough. Now, here's where we get into a couple other things. Impairment of colleagues, and the other section will be incompetence to them. And now I said in the videos, if alluding to this, is that we're going to have a standard that we must follow, a procedure we must follow if we see these things. And if you take a look in the note sections, it is there, right? A step 1 and a step 2. Here, I put it up on the screen so that you could see it as well. Then, this is the note section over here, so make it available for you to see here. So impairment of colleagues, this is, if they're impaired, what do we mean by that? Either it could be all sorts of things: personal problems, psychological distress, psychosocial distress, substance abuse, mental health, all these things. Whatever gets in the way of the practice interferes with practice effectiveness. So right, it getting in the way of their job. And so you have to have direct knowledge of this. First and foremost, it says it right here in 2.08. And I have it in bold. You need direct knowledge of their impairment, right? It can't just be hearsay. You just can't. The idea people are saying, oh, it seems like something's wrong with that person. You actually have to know there's something wrong. So witness it, that sort of thing. Now, this is where it becomes this procedure I'm talking about, and it will follow with for incompetence as well. So if they believe that one of their colleagues is impaired, it's interfering with their effectiveness, what they need to do is first go through appropriate channels, and them. But the first thing you do, right, so that's always you follow the appropriate channels. Again, this will be your, I'm sure the agency you work for will have some in their handbook about this. But really, here's the thing you need to follow is this 2-step rule. And again, this will be used for incompetence as well. First, when feasible, right, and that means, right, when it's possible, the person's not actively danger to themselves or others, is what we're talking about here. Talk to the colleague. Give them a chance to get help, to self-correct. That is always the first step here. You owe it to your colleagues. It's what you would want from them. It's professional courtesy. But it's also, again, when we want people to get help, as you know, they need to buy into it, right? And so get them a chance. So talk to them in private. Talk to them as a friend. If after you talk to them, so that's step 1, talk to them, and they are not going to get help, refuse or that sort of thing, then you go to your supervisor, your superiors, or proper channels at your at employment. So step 1, talk to them. Give your colleague a chance to self-correct. Sometimes maybe people are just having a bad week, that sort of thing. And then after that, if it's clear they're not going to do anything about it, they're not going to change, they're going to fight you, that's when you go to your superiors at your employment, and that's, the appropriate channels established by employers, agencies, and then it will be pushed up towards the licensing regulatory bodies if necessary. So again, if they are impaired, you have direct knowledge of it. First step, talk to them. Second step, if they are not going to do anything, that's when you go on. And again, and this is the part of impairment too. You should not let your personal problems, don't bring them to work, right? That's what every job has, that sort of thing. But you see that in section 4.05 here. If you're having issues like that, it could really hurt your performance at your job, your judgment, and it could really jeopardize the best interest of people that you're supposed to be working for, right? If you're drunk and you're coming to work all the time, you're probably not thinking straight all the time, that sort of thing. If you need mental health, if you're having mental health issues or psychosocial distress, personal problems, take a mental health day, as they say. Take some time off. Get that. You don't want to bring it in and take it out on your clients or others, that sort of thing. And that, they really should, and this is what B says, is you need to take remedial action, right? To seek professional help, make adjustments and workload. Maybe you're, terminate your practice, take some time off. It's on you to recognize this and then to fix it, right? And so that's really, you need to be aware of what's going on in your own head, your own life, not bring that to work. But when it does become a problem, you need to be proactive. Say something and seek help or treatment, or even lighten your workload for the time being. Talk to your supervisor, that sort of thing. So now let's talk about incompetence. And again, we can see this. It says in notes, like impairment, this is a two-step process. The main question here is, what is incompetence, right? And so we're talking about social workers who are helping professionals who are practicing outside their scope, right? Once again, you need to have direct knowledge of this, right? So it's something you have to have witness, that sort of thing. You consult with that colleague and then, in taking remedial action. But again, what do we mean by incompetence? Again, they are completely outside of their skills and expertise, right? Again, I've used the example, you're a say a grief counselor, you probably shouldn't be dealing with someone dealing with substance abuse, or your substance abuse, you shouldn't be dealing with someone with eating disorders, that sort of thing, because you don't have the experience. We're assuming you have no experience and training in that. So what you got to first do is talk to them, right? Say, hey, look, you're out of your depth here. You're opening yourself up to possible malpractice, that sort of thing. Give them a chance to self-correct, and if possible, help them, right? And help them find, to consult with someone who can help them and their client. And if you, after, again, so the first step, you talk to them, you give them a chance to self-correct, and you offer your help. If after that, the step two, and here it's B, they are not going to take adequate steps to address their incompetence, or they keep going through anyway, that's when you go to your supervisor and above from there. So again, just like a two-step process, impairment, you talk to the colleague first, give them a chance to self-correct, make changes. If they don't, and they're not going to do that, then you go and you talk to your supervisor. So again, what is competence here? Again, provide services, and we've talked about this before, but it's in 1.04, and then again in the next slide in 4.1. 0.01. Provide services and represent them as competent only in the boundaries of their education, trainings, licenses, certifications, that sort of thing. And use the techniques that have been that you've been trained in, you've studied enough, and also get supervision and help from those who are competent in those fields if you're not there. So again, competence, stick with it. If you're licensed and certified in one area, you shouldn't be practicing in areas that require a license and certification that you do not have, right? You shouldn't be consulting on things that you're not an expert in, right? I teach ethics and history. I would be, if I started giving you advice on medical care, nursing, or finance, that would probably that's outside of my areas, right? So that's it. And so you could see what a competence is there, and that's a requirement for. In 4.01, you also need to, again, we've talked about this, accept employment only on the basis of what you know, and you can do. Again, you got to represent yourself clearly. We've talked about before. And so, yeah, we've talked about competence, and that is what part of it is there. All right, so we're going to leave it off here. I'm going to pick up in the last lecture video, and it's only going to be a few minutes. It won't be the whole thing. There's a couple other topics, only 3 more slides I want to get to. So we'll pick up with that in lecture video 5, which will be the last end.